Hi, I'm Steph Nelson, Application Engineer for Siemens, and I'm going to show you how to do some video correlation and some audio replay in Neo with their video replay function. So I have some data already taken, and if you're new to Neo, one of the most amazing parts about Neo is that we have this pivot table, and this pivot table is really nice because what it does is when we click a run, it shows all the available data in that folder. So I've got a metal plate video that was taken with an engineering camera or a travel camera, doesn't matter what you use. If I click that, the video will appear at the bottom. And I also want to see the time trace to see if I can correlate this time trace and the video at the same time. These were not taken at the same time. The video was recorded and then somebody ran and hit play. But if we want to correlate them, we can do that pretty easily. If you don't know how to import a video, you can right-click on the folder and go to Import, and then navigate to your video. Currently only MP4s are accepted, but if I click on this and click open and then OK, the video will now appear in my pivot table. One of the first things we need to do is turn on video replay. That's going to be the important one. I'm also going to turn on advanced audio replay just for some other fun features to show later, but the video replay one's the one you're going to need. If you want to hear the audio, you should definitely turn on basic audio replay. Okay, so I've got two peaks here, and I'm just going to play a snippet of it really quickly. This play button will become visible once you have those add-ins on. You can see that this hit registered, but the person in the video had not yet hit the metal plate. So if we want to correlate that, we can do that pretty easily. First thing I want to do is I want to right-click on this video, and I'm going to click Add Video Sync. And I like to make sure everything's in vertical mode. It'll default to horizontal, but vertical is my favorite. You can use whatever you'd like. And then we'll have three cursors that will appear. This cursor is the sync for the time trace, the red one. The black cursor is the sync for the video. And the blue cursor tells you where you are in time. So the first thing I want to do is I want to sync it up with this first peak. There's some Testlab tricks we can use to do that. If I click on the data, and I click on the cursor, I can hit Move to Global Maximum, and that'll show me the highest peak in this area. So now this is correlated to where this peak is going to occur. The next thing I need to do is move this video so that it's correlated as well. And there's a couple fake outs. You can see that it comes really close, but it doesn't hit it. So we're going to try to get it pretty close. What I'm going to be doing is using the arrow keys on my computer. So if I hold down the arrow keys, you can see that the video sort of goes in slow motion. And I think there's a fake out. I think that's probably the connection. So once that's done, I'm going to right click and hit Sync Video. And that's the second hit. This is what you can do if you have two sets of data, whether it's, some time data and you want to correlate it to a video. There's a really easy way to do that. If your data is already correlated, there's some really neat things we can do as well. So I've got a project open here. Okay, this is some sound quality data that was taken on an electric vehicle. I've got my pivot table here. I'm going to swap it to vertical again so I can see all my graphs. So a bunch of different things were tested. Some windows were tested, some wipers were tested, and then the car was tested. So we're going to start with windows. So when I click on this, I've got this data is correlated. It's already been synced. I've got a Zwicker loudness graph, a prominence ratio graph, and then I've got the graph of the window. And if I press play really quickly, you can see as the window returns to the upright position, this really nasty tone cuts on. You can see that correlated in time, or I should say synced in time. And here's where audio replay can be an interesting way of looking at this. So if I'm in advanced audio replay, I'm going to add a notch or a band, we'll do a band stop filter. And one of the cool things you can do is you can filter on these color plots. So these two dashed lines, pink dashed lines, are the edges of my band stop filter. So as I'm moving these around, the values are changing over here. See if I can afford a little bit of room to see all the frequencies. I'm going to try to filter out that tone just to see if it's worth even attempting to get rid of, like whether or not that might bother a customer or whether or not it's just fine the way it is. So I'm going to filter from about 550 hertz to about, we'll do 650 hertz. Really narrow in on that. So if I play it again, now this green bar means that the filter is on, so it'll sound a little different. I'm going to play right here. So if you didn't hear a difference, this time I'll toggle it on and off while it's playing. Hopefully you're able to tell that there's some difference made when you filter out that really obnoxious tone, I should say, little group of tones. But it's nice to be able to see the video and to look at the graphs at the same time and have them synced. So the next thing I have is a wiper. So I'm going to play this one really quickly as well. We'll turn off the filter for now. We don't need that. So I've got prominence ratio and Zwicker loudness again. And one of the really cool things about this is if I want to see in time where everything is, this coupled cursor, you can even add an additional coupled cursor, but this coupled cursor allows me to see where this peak, like what is causing this peak. And it looks like it's the cause of the wipers returning to that upright position again. And this one is caused by them meeting their full motion and then returning to the second position. So it's just nice to be able to see visually what is causing these tones, because not always do we have visual data to sync up to some psychoacoustic metrics. So you can even right click and add a coupled cursor if you want. Lastly, I have a car. We call this a Simrod car. This is one of the Siemens cars. This is an electric vehicle. The unique thing about this is obviously in a dyno chassis. And what was done here is the car was started at a high RPM and then was slowly ramped down. And there's a special eco mode that's in this car. So as the car runs down, this regenerative braking will turn on, and we'll see what that looks like. And this one's pretty loud, so I'm going to drop this down quite a bit. Okay, so a couple really neat things. The first is that because we have the sound camera with the other video, we're able to find exactly where the sources are dominating depending on what the RPM value is. So that's really nice. You can actually see on the sound camera as the video is playing that when eco mode is on, the gearbox is the dominant source. It's like right here. And when eco mode is off, the tires become the dominant source. And the other nice thing is this prominence ratio. We zoom in a little bit. Is with respect to rotations, which is really nice. So there are these two little gaps where this nasty 10th order frequency cuts on because of that regenerative braking, and the sound source is dominated by the gearbox. So if I wanted to play that in time. You can see during this gap right here, the sound source is more focused on the tires. On the sound camera localizer, you can see that the sound is being dominated by the tires. But the second we get back to this red zone when it cuts on again, that regenerative braking, we're back to the gearbox. So this is really nice too if you're trying to figure out in your vehicle what part of your sound is being dominated. You've got a bunch of different metrics you can look at while using the sound source localization camera and the video replay function. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to email steph.nelson@siemens.com, and I hope you enjoyed.